Welcome guys, an episode of Ultrakill. So, power scaling is absolute whack, and I'm gonna be proving it to you through terrible commentary and stuff. And let's get back to the video. So basically, power scaling, you know, it's usually not whack. You know, like up to like street tiers or maybe wall tier, building level characters, and then usually not really whack. They're kind of consistent. It's just up to like how well they can fight usually, but like for like planetary, universal, like the ones that can, the one at the cosmic level are like the weirder ones. Alright, they're weirder scale to be exact, because like they could be like overpowered. They have like abilities and they have like energies. They can manipulate this and that, and then they get destroyed by a fucking rock. I'm not even joking. Look at Goku. I mean, to be fair, Goku wasn't universal level at the time, but he was somewhat a bit multi-planetary at the time. So technically, a rock destroying him and hurting him shouldn't be feasible in the first place. Which kind of leads me to probably the next part. I felt my dash jump for some other reason. I don't know what's wrong with me. Anyhow, so you know, power scaling is a bit more whack because the author doesn't really think about the power scaling. They only think about which character is cooler, and they kind of write whoever wins, and most people kind of tend to forget about that when it comes towards versus battles, because like, yeah, usually versus battles they don't really have an author to back it up, but like when it's like a crossover versus battle, usually it's up to the, you know, author and the writers to decide who wins or who loses, to be exact. So yeah, which also kind of makes it a bit weird, because sometimes authors don't really understand the laws of physics as well, and so they just show shit they think is cool, and people think the characters at this level, at base level, even though context wise they're really not. I mean, unless they're Superman or something, but to be exact, Superman is made to be overpowered and to solve any problem with a single stab or punch. Can you not? Also, author statements are kind of like very iffy even in power scaling, even though author statements and author, you know, the understanding of author's intentions is kind of important when it comes to us understanding the character's powers. But at the same time, the author statement usually is false, because sometimes they can, you know, change up their mind. You know, sometimes, you know, author can say, hey, this character A can be character B, but the next you know, chapter of the manga, character B wins. So we can't really take the author statement to absolute fact, because sometimes the author is absolute whack sometimes, you know. So yeah, author statement is kind of whack as well. But same with power scaling, because we shouldn't really be taking fictional characters to fight other fictional characters. I mean, to be fair, we can, but like, they kind of, isn't it kind of like a waste of time, to be exact? I mean, we all should just waste our time to like and subscribe to my channel. And also, that aside, I also believe the fact that, you know, power scaling is also really whack in terms of, well, physics, because 90% of the time, like, the light speed characters shouldn't really be light speed, because, you know, light speed isn't achievable in our universe. But to be fair, it's fiction, so we shouldn't really apply fictional powers to physical, real-world physics, because that really wouldn't make any sense. Because if you don't know, if you go light speed, then you might destroy the universe. I mean, it's not true. Don't take my words for truth, because I don't know physics, alright? All I know is that light speed is impossible and shouldn't be feasible in the first place. So, yeah, the majority of light speed characters are not real. Shock, am I right? Fictional characters, fictional feats are not real. Shocker. Something surprising, even to I. No, you're not allowed. Nah. There we go. Not even close. Anyhow, so there's also like one more thing, like the reason why power scaling is also absolute garbage at the same time is because like some characters that are like cosmic level, they get affected by basic things like a fucking table. For example, Hazbin Hotel, like angels have been canonically known to be immune to majority of physical damage, except for angelic weapons, and loot rips off an arm and then loses said arm to a fucking table. I'm not joking. It is canonically, this is canon by the way, Loot loses her arm to a fucking table, even though she's supposed to lose her arm to angelic steel. And to be fair, we don't know if angels can regenerate, to be exact, like demons do, but I assume so, because why would they not? Wouldn't angels and demons have the same skill set? This is weird. Power scaling is weird. This is why you should never power scale and just live a happy life and have other hobbies, alright? Power scaling is just absolute garbage sometimes, you know, because like there's also like multiple instances as well. Like V1 can be scaled to a solar system level due to the fact he can tank a singular black hole, but he dies to a fan blade. I'm not joking. He dies to blades of a metal fan, but he can tank a black hole and explosions. And every single character can be affected by that or one-shotted. But to be fair, that's like in-game mechanics. But at the same time, it shouldn't really make sense. Like Kratos struggling opening a chest, then Doom guy dying to fraud the demons, and there's a lot of game mechanics and game things that shouldn't really happen. Like Homelander killing God, apparently. I don't know how that's gonna work, but I don't know, Mortal Kombat's weird, I guess. I mean, we got babyfication and stuff, but we don't really talk about that, not do we? Anyhow, so I was like, alright, power scaling is absolute doo-doo, and you should have other hobbies. Okay, I'm not done with the author's intention part because, you know, I kind of went off topic, but author's intention also comes with the fact that character powers and character scaling usually comes down to the author. And even though I did talk about how the writer's statements shouldn't really matter, you should always consider the fact like what type of story they're telling, because sometimes like they want this character to win, so they, you know, make that character win even though it's explicitly shown that that character is extremely weak and not able to win against that character. So it shouldn't really make any sense, and people try to justify this in plot armor, even though it is usually plot armor is there to just help. I mean, fiction usually has plot armor. There's no such thing as anti-plot armor or plot armor, which makes me kind of confused, because in a writing standpoint, shit needs to happen for the plot to happen, which people tend to overlook, and they say this should have happened and this should have happened, but it wouldn't have happened even though the story would have just not happened, and it didn't happen. This is getting confusing now, isn't it? You know, so like also power scaling comes to a really heavy mind when it comes towards like, you know, how ridiculous people will stretch to make this character look stronger than this character, even though this character loses to a fucking rock, because authors just felt like it was funny. Because like sometimes people put gags, author put gags and stuff to cool thing, so like it feels funny, you know, haha, laugh at it, you know. But usually it shouldn't really matter the power scaling, but it kind of does, because of the fact that, you know, if a character gets destroyed by a rock, even though they canonically destroy universes, shouldn't that kind of make them, or like make it kind of an anti-feat, because of the fact that, you know, they got destroyed by a fucking rock out of anything? So it shouldn't really make any sense. And this is why we should think about authors' intentions, and why something shouldn't be anti-feats, or, you know, feats in general, because sometimes authors just feel like doing stuff that shouldn't happen but happened because they felt a bit funny, which is kind of true, because, you know, sometimes not sometimes, a lot of times, like a lot of communities tend to forget the fact that the story they're scaling are being written by a guy who doesn't know how to power scale, or who doesn't even power scale. They only care about writing themes of the story, so they only care about, you know, which character should win and to showcase what themes they are. and everything. There shouldn't be power scaling to a fiction, but to be fair, power scaling is kind of like to understand how strong one character is, and yeah, sometimes there should be power scaling in the story so you can understand, you know, the characters themselves and where they stand on, which strength they stand on. Anyhow, my throat is about to hurt and my nose is acting really weird, so I'm just gonna end the video pretty quickly with this last point. Anyhow, so next is probably like stat-wise scaling, which shouldn't really matter when it comes to us like no like absolute overwhelming victories, or like they just outstat them so hilariously that it doesn't matter if they're skilled or anything. It doesn't matter if they're hacked. They just die. They just die. Like they don't even live anymore. But like sometimes for like extreme diff battles, we need to consider the fact about like how would they adapt, how in character wise, how would they, you know, win usually. So we have to think about that when it comes towards, you know, putting other characters with almost equal stats into battle, or like practically equal stats into battle, because like usually it's up to like, you know, how would they act, yeah, you know, how would they fight, how well would they fight against each other, how much of a, you know, counter they are, how much of a disadvantage the character is, how much advantage does the other character have, how intelligent they are, how wise they are, how would they use their powers. And I totally didn't miss that shot, and I would totally not miss. I am the best in Ultra Kill anyhow, so basically I guess that's really about it. I guess I'll be very frank, because like it's in general TLDR is just like you have to think about in characters and how skillful they are, and how they'll fight, how creative their skill set will be, how their hack sources will go, how their abilities to interact, and everything. It's like usually they think of that when it comes to versus battles. You can't usually use stats unless they hilariously outstat them by a considerable margin. So I guess that's really about it. Anyhow, so I hope this video shows you that power scaling absolutely sucks and you need to find a different hobby if you're a power scaler. Anyhow, so that's really about it for the video, and if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe, and if you're a power scaler and dislike the video, like and subscribe, because you're a nerd. I should phrase that correctly, because you're a nerd. There we go, yeah, that's perfect. That's a perfect phrasing. I found my perfect way of saying things. You're a nerd. And also, that's really about it. If you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. If you didn't, like and subscribe. So that's really about it. I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.